Hey Gengar Gang, what is going on? My name is Ryan, this is the Analytic Gengar, and welcome to another video. Friends, today we begin a very special journey, unboxing 363 PSA Graded Returns. It's going to be a journey, but I'm very excited for you all to be along for the ride. I will say, a couple weeks ago, I did unveil this one card's grade. This is a Spanish Charizard Holo base set, so it's a really good looking card. It got a 7, and honestly, I'm going to try to avoid commenting on the grades that I received. For the most part, I don't know any of the grades. This is the only card that I actually know the grade of, and the only reason I did that is because I did a mail day video a couple of weeks ago. If you haven't already seen it, link will be down below in the description, and it should be popping up in the eye right now. But this is the only one that I actually know the grade for, so everything else is a surprise to me. Make sure to go check out that video for a little bit of added context and to see what 363 graded Pokemon cards look like when they come back from PSA. Now, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and get started on this return. Obviously, the first card is a near mint 7 PSA Charizard, conservatively placed somewhere above 200 bucks. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put that face down over this way. I'm also going to go ahead and pull out the first 19 other graded cards from the set. So here's how I'm going to go ahead and do it. As you can see, PSA places them in this little like bubble wrapping thing. So it's actually very helpful because now what I can do is I can go ahead and put my finger over the grade, pull the card out, and let's go ahead and actually zoom filter out a little bit, but right over here is where we want to be at. Now here is a base set 1999 Charizard Holo. This card, couple of things with it. One, the card itself was in actually really good condition, but it was so off-centered that I think this dinged it. And this card is like painfully and awkwardly off-center. So the ironic part about this is that the front can be great. Let's go ahead and cover that. The back was also really good. I mean, there is a little bit of whitening here, but I've seen 8s get away with that. The issue, however, is that no such situation plays out where a card is this off-centered and that's just totally ignored. And even top to bottom is pretty rough. So this card ended up getting a 7. All right, I expected as much, but this was a big hitter. And again, this is a card that theoretically could fetch anywhere from, you know, 300 to 400 bucks. The coronavirus has done really weird things to the Pokemon card market, and because of that, you can expect to see some really fishy prices. Next up is a Dark Plume Holo out of Team Rocket. So right now we're in a stage where realistically some of the cards that you're gonna see are really from like the olden days. Honestly, I think today's video stops in the expedition phase. But, you know, today we'll be seeing everything from Rocket, Neo Gen, a little, I think there's one random card from LC. But this was really for base, Rocket, Neo Gen, and the beginning of Expedition. In the next video, expect a lot more Expedition. So if you're a fan of that set, you will see tons more of that. This is a Dark Plume, really pretty card. This ended up getting a PSA 7. Okay, so not bad. And let's just see what the back of this card looks like. I mean, yeah, there's a pretty wicked chip over there, and there's a little whitening over there, so I could see a situation playing out. Again, these cards, back in the day, they had so much holo foil, and you can see it on screen right now. It's impossible to look at these cards and say, oh, you know what I think is not going to happen? They're going to end up getting perfect surface grades. Next up, is a Neo Gen Heracross. So obviously Neo Gen, coronavirus really favored certain cards out of Neo Gen, including but not limited to that Typhlosion. But seriously, let's be real here. Given how difficult they are to grade, Typhlosions were for a long time very undervalued. So now it's just starting to catch up with the market. As you can see, Heracross is another one of those cards where it's like there's very small amounts of anything on it. And what you really get is a really cool image. You have Heracross over here, but this, I believe, is another Pokemon, and I think they're about a scrub, dog. Like, that's not going to be good. So I think it's a situation where a card like this, I mean, just look at that holo. It's so pretty. This card ended up getting also a 7. Okay. This card's centering was a lot better, but the centering on the back was rough. But again, not to the point that I think it got dinged for that. Probably over here somewhere on this holo foil is the main issue, and that is probably why it ended up getting a 7. Next up, another amazing card out of Neo Gen. This is the Kingdra First Edition. This card is actually a star out of the coronavirus times. And what I mean by that, and what I will probably mean by that as I continue to use that same phrase, is basically those are cards that were very favored by the coronavirus. For some reason or whatever caused people to start buying cards and make the market spike. There were certain cards that were just darlings of the time. So, for example, Burning Shadows Charizards and this particular Kingdra shot up in value significantly over a period of time. This Kingdra ended up getting a 8. Okay, very cool. It's nice getting 8s, and I know the goal obviously is always to get 10s, but it's almost weird because, you know, sooner or later many 10s are going to become unaffordable to a lot of people. And because of that, it's almost good to get 9s and 8s because they're probably going to see the most increase in value over a period of time. Here's a Skarmory. Interesting fun facts. This was one of the first iterations of Steel-type Pokemon, and you can see how awkwardly put together this card is because look how dark the text is. It was one of those situations where they're just kind of figuring it out. One thing is that this card does have a swirl, I believe, right over here, and you can see the beginning trails of it. If I move it enough, it should kick off. But yeah, you can see how odd the card is too as well. Now, this card ended up getting a 8. Very cool. Alrighty, friends. Next up, we have a Rockets Moltres. Rockets Moltres out of Gym Heroes ended up being another one of those darling cards. Everybody loves some popcorn chicken, I suppose. This card looked pretty good. Centering's alright. I'm going to guess a 7. Okay, not bad, not bad. A PSA 10 in this card is a redonkulous number, by the way, so just be warned. So, here's the one card. When I was putting together this submission, long story short, what happened was I thought this was a Rocket card because I thought it was a Dark Persian, and I didn't pay attention to the symbol down below, so this is the one card that's actually out of order. Otherwise, the 363 cards have two kind of basic organization schemas to them. The first is that I had cards separated by how I bought them. So there's a 310 card set that I had. Then I have my personal stuff down at the back. So this was within that, but then I also organized it within set so that coming out on the back end, I'd be able to know, you know, the first 310 cards were from that particular set. I bought them for investment, so now if I sell them back, I kind of know where they're at. Long story short, this was the one random card. Dark Persian, pretty dope. I'm going to guess a 6. A near mint 8. Okay, very cool. Yeah, this card's pretty clean. Nothing crazy. There's a little bit of whitening down below, but nothing absurdly out of this world that would otherwise kind of ding it. It's not like one of those cards where you look at it and it's just kind of all over the place. All right, friends, so with that, we now transition into the Blastoise, meaning we are now officially in the Expedition era. So those were all of the Neo cards and other random base set cards that I had. We're in this place now, which means these are some pretty cool looking cards. This is a Blastoise out of Expedition, and the thing that I love most about this is that Expedition really kicked it off with some interesting artwork. This is the non-holographic, but it is the reverse holo of the card, meaning technically there's less, you know, stuff to get scratched up, but I'm going to guess a 6 on this card. A 7. All right. And part of the reason that I guess that, I remember this card distinctly. Look how awful that corner is. This corner is, you know, this card had a little bit of whitening on it, and it's interesting because, as I'd mentioned, all of these cards came from a set of 300 plus cards, so it was also a situation where I was kind of weighing the benefits versus the cost of this. I didn't expect every card to be in perfect condition. Here is a Butterfree, number 5, so sequentially the next card in the set. What I love about this, you got a couple different Butterfrees, and I think they've revisited this artwork several times in the past. I'm going to guess an 8. There you go. Yeah, pretty clean card. You know, very slight differences number over number. You like to look at a 6 and a 10, you kind of get the difference. Oops. Well, spoiler grade on that. This is a very good, excellent 4. And I mean, I'm sure you can kind of guess why there is a lot more holo on this one, because this is the holo version of that card. Really pretty, really beautiful card. I'm very happy to have one of these in my collection. The back is actually immaculate, so I'm assuming that it's a combination of either slight creasing, whitening, and this holographic pattern that have really caused that sort of massive decline in grade. Here's a big hitter. So here is a Charizard reverse foil, and this, it's almost weird. I almost like having the reverse foils because it means that there's probably a better chance that I won't be, you know, absolutely destroyed on the holo pattern, as you saw with the Butterfree. I'm going to go ahead and guess a 8. Okay, all right, I'll take that. That is a PSA 9 Charizard. This is another one of those cards. I mean, Charizards are always that card. Yeah, the back is pretty clean. I can see why it got a 10 with a little bit of whitening down below. But this is one of those cards, like, you know, $130, $140. Like, the price slowly started creeping up over quarantine, and I was like, okay, I'll take that. That definitely works. Here we have a Clefable. Clefable is one of those interesting cards. You don't actually see this pop up on the market all too often, and I can't tell you if it's because population's low, but I'm going to go ahead and guess a 6 because it's a holo. And I got a 7. Alright, that's good. I'm setting my standards low, friends. Many people might be like, wait, Ryan, why aren't you hoping for higher grades? When you buy 300 and, you know, 300 plus cards, it's hard to be optimistic that any one of them is going to be perfect. Like, the chances of that are slim to none. So I kind of keep my expectations low, but again, this is a game I'm playing where effectively as an investor in this stuff, but also as a collector of this stuff, you realize that not every card is going to be gem mint. And speaking of gem mint, here's a Dragonite where I'm going to guess a random 10. Okay, never mind. I got an 8, but I'll take it because this is a really cool Dragonite. I love the look. I love the aesthetic. First time, or well, not the first time, but definitely one of the first times that you see the word dragon associated with Dragonite until he's officially declared a dragon. I feel like if it didn't have this white chip down here at the bottom where my left thumb was, it would have definitely been a higher grade. All right, we got a reverse Spearow out of Expedition. Again, the big thing with these bigger cards, you want to watch to make sure there's no scratching here. It's, for some reason, a lot harder to scratch this holographic pattern than it is to scratch the pattern over here, which scratches like glass. And I don't know if I just revealed the grade, but it is a gem mint. Well, it is a mint 9, so that is a really nice card. It's another one of those cards where, you know, who even knows what it sells for? I don't know. It's such a rare, random thing. Here's the holo version of that card, by the way. So here's a nice little pickup right here for us. And this is the holographic version. Not much to look at. I'm going to guess a 4. A 7. Wonderful. Yeah, it seems, I mean, you know, it doesn't take much to tell you. There's also a fair bit of whitening on the edges, which could probably be the cause of that. But realistically, it doesn't take rocket science to tell you that the holographic patterns, and if anything, my PSA returns kind of implicate that the holographic patterns do really kind of impact the overall grade that you might get. Here we have a Machamp reverse foil. Really interesting looking view at Machamp, given that our first look from, you know, the earlier sets weren't that flattering. I think, you know, he looks a lot better here than he does in base set, but that's just me. I'm going to guess a 6, a 9. Wow. Yeah, and as you can see, these are pretty consistent across the board. You do kind of get lower grades with the holo foil than you do with the reverse holo. Here's a Magby holo, super cute card. This is one of the baby Pokemon they introduced in Gen 2. I'm going to go ahead and guess a 7, an 8. Very cool. Yeah, so this card, I distinctly remember packing it up. It has really good quality holographic, and It's like very cleanly printed and stuff like that. There's even, I would argue, maybe a little bit of hollow bleed down here, but I'm not gonna like state that if I try to sell it. But the back, you know, just has your average amount of like little speckling, and I think the speckling is what took it down. When I say speckling, what I mean is like just random whitening. Alright, second to last for today's video, we got a Meganium reverse foil. Out of Expedition, the starters are, you know, pretty up there in terms of price. I can see prices going anywhere from like the 30s, the 40s, so this is a good card to have. Any of the starters are really a good card to have. They always seem to be fan favorites no matter the set. For Meganium, I'm gonna guess a 9. Oh, very cool. Finally got one, I think. Alright, that's nice. And then finally but not least, the last card for today's PSA Graded Return is a duplicate Meganium reverse foil, and you can already see it's a near mint 8. So, for the last 2 seconds of this video, here's a 9, here's an 8. Not really much to see on the front. On the back, again, from an eye's view, nearly identical. So it's almost bonkers to think what goes into kind of delineating between the two. But that's just another one of the nuances of grading cards and playing in a hobby where subjectivity sometimes influences the grades on cards. But with that said, friends, thanks again for checking out today's video. Today we did numbers 1 through 20 in what is going to be a fairly lengthy process, but thank you again for joining me for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. Again, we kind of hit a little bit of everything today. We had some base set, we had some Rocket, some Neo Gen, some LC, and some Expedition. The next couple of videos will be a little bit more consistent within sets as we kind of get into some of the stretches, but I hope you enjoyed. Thank you again for checking out the video. Don't forget, my channel has tons of other PSA graded returns that you can check out. I will leave the playlist in the end card of this video, and of course, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you like what you saw today, and ring that notification bell to make sure you stay up to date for when new videos are coming out. In the meantime, I hope you guys are having a great day. Be safe and have a great afternoon. Peace.